I'm here with my friend Mahmoud Issa. We're going to be talking about getting deals done. So I appreciate you all being here. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Uh, I'm not sure if you guys were on the first training that we did, but this one's going to be way more collaborative. So there's going to be lots of opportunities for you guys to ask questions about your specific challenges, your specific issues that you're up against. So if you don't have anything to ask, think about something and jot it down. And then we're going to have time throughout this presentation that Mahmoud's going to do to for you to ask questions. But we're going to be talking about deal flow, getting deals done, really thinking about what it is that's blocking you from getting the results that you expect. And a lot of times we think it's something and it's something entirely different. A lot of times we think it's the quality of the leads. Maybe we should be pulling lists of foreclosures instead of doing absentee owners, or we should be doing ringless voicemail instead of text blasting, or we should be knocking on doors instead of driving for dollars. And that stuff matters, but not nearly as much as your systems and your processes and your back end of your business and how you execute and make sure that those leads that you're getting don't slip through the cracks and they're getting the proper attention that they need. So welcome. Appreciate you guys all being here. We're going to get started here in a couple minutes. We want to give people who are late stragglers an opportunity to get in and get settled. But I appreciate everybody here who's on time. Thank you so much. Mahmoud, how you doing, sir? Feel free to
Yeah,
don't be shy,
great.
brother.
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having me. Hey, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being on here. Super excited for what we're going to talk about today. Some of you guys who know me might have already be familiar with the type of content that I put out. Those who are newer, you guys are in for quite a ride. So I'm super excited to kind of dive into what we're going to dive into today.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been fortunate enough to know Mahmoud for a few years now. Got to hang out with him in person at some events. And if you haven't seen him before, he's really tied in tightly with a lot of the what you call communities that maybe you're part of that you've heard of. Communities like Astro, Flipping, Sub2, others that are out there. Um, Mahmoud's got a lot of content out there on the internet. If you're ever looking for some additional training, maybe just Google him and you'll find a bunch of trainings that he's done and podcast appearances and a bunch of cool stuff. So this isn't his first rodeo, and he is also a really skilled and successful real estate investing operator. He's done hundreds of transactions, mostly wholesale. But in this business that we're doing, this isn't necessarily about wholesaling. Okay, this is about lead generation and executing and following through with those leads so you can get closed deals. What you do with those deals on the back end is up to you. So if you do decide you want to wholesale and get that transaction fee, the assignment fee up front, then that's great. Or if you are like a lot of wholesalers and you are transitioning from getting your business started into more fruitful exit strategies like buy and hold or fix and flip or some hybrid approach, then that's fine too. Not everybody stays in that initial world. Some people kind of what would you say scale up their business so you can take part in a larger piece of the pie. Wholesale is a great strategy to have in your tool belt, no matter where you're at in your career. I've been doing this for 20 years and I've done all the strategies and I still wholesale because not every deal matches my deal criteria. Not every opportunity matches my buy box. It might be in a different state, or maybe the margins are too thin, or I just don't like the area or the property itself. So don't get stuck in what the strategy is, what you're going to do with it. Okay, that's a different training. This is about making sure that you're making the most out of the input and time and effort and money in generation of the leads so that you get the most out of that and get a good ROI in everything you're putting in your business. And Mahmoud has proven himself through and through that he can do that. So, Mahmoud, with that, I will turn it over to you. Let's give people a kind of a refresher in the foundational information that you're going to be talking about, and then we'll jump into some questions.
All right. Thank you, Benson. Hi, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being on here today. My name is Mahmoud Issa. Benson introduced me. I'm a real estate investor. I've been in the business since 2020. I've done a few hundred wholesale transactions, as well as coached and mentored a few hundred business owners as well. And today we're going to talk about a very important topic. And before I do that, I want to just kind of preview this topic a little bit, the background behind it. And I want you guys to really interact with me and put yourselves in the descriptions that I am providing right now. So I was once in a place where, if I wanted to learn a new strategy, let's say I wanted to learn how to wholesale, I wanted to learn how to lend, I wanted to learn, about fix and flip, sub two, creative finance. What happens is we oftentimes feel like, okay, like I feel like I understand how to do an intro call and talk to real estate agents, for example, and how to get them to send us leads. I know how, to kind of comp properties and things like that and run numbers. I'm not perfect, but I'm good. Or I know how to kind of like talk to buyers and things like that. But I've been consuming that sort of content and maybe practicing a couple of agents here and there, submitting offers and trying to kind of get into the flow of things with, doing my first deal and things like that. And like, here I am consuming all the information in the world, trying to implement it, putting in some offers, running numbers like crazy, but I'm not doing any deals, right? How many of you guys have been in that position, right? Where like you are trying to put together a process, you're trying to figure out like how to kind of create some structure, just like all the other things in life that we have structure. Like when we go into the gym, we have a workout structure. We know what our workouts are going to be, how many what exercises they're going to be, how many sets, how many reps, when we walk in, when we go out, what are we going to end up accomplishing, and that helps us. And similarly with other things, like for example, when you something as simple as making a turkey sandwich, right? What's the process for making a turkey sandwich? You go into fridge, open fridge door, get loaf of bread, open bread, back, pull out 2 slices, insert and plug in toaster, insert in toaster, push the button down, have toasters heat, and then you go on and on, grab turkey, grab mayo, grab cheese, etc. And you have a very specific step-by-step process where you go from A to Z. And that is called like reduction of resistance. You're lowering your resistance, you're lowering the friction to doing the task. So this training today is for everybody who's been feeling a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit, I don't know where to start, and a little bit of, I don't know how to kind of get things structured and things kind of going and trust in the process that I have. So
It's worth noting, Mahmoud, too, that this
yeah,
isn't about beginners or intermediate or
no,
where you're at in your journey, because every step along the way in your journey, you're going to have new challenges. And so even if you've done 100 deals, this discussion is going to help you get to that next level. If you've never done a deal, this is going to help you get your first deal done. So again, try not to say, okay, this is for me or it's not for me. Everything in here can help everyone. I firmly believe that.
absolutely. Absolutely. And onward, we go into the 4 stages of business growth. And so, like Benson was saying, like when we're talking about organization, we're talking about establishing systems and processes to help boost your revenue and help get you guys kind of squared away. I personally revise my process every quarter because things change, and I have new process elements that I add, new ways of doing things. So yeah, this is important for all stages. So I want each of you guys here in the audience to think about your business. And some of you guys have seen me talk about this before. For those who are new, this is going to be very important. Think about which stage of business growth you guys are in currently, right? You have the proof of concept stage, where right now you're learning all of the fundamentals of your particular business model at hand, whether it's Section 8 or, flipping houses or wholesaling through talking to agents, etc. Proof of concept is where you're trying to figure out how to do one transaction, one successful transaction from A to Z. Like you're trying to just piece everything together so you can do one. You're learning how to underwrite, you're learning how to talk to people, you're learning the right scripts, you're learning how to, how all the contracts work. You just want to get one contract so that you can say, all right, I did it from A to Z. How do I do it again? That's proof of concept. Okay. And then some of you guys might be on the next stage after that, which is repeatability. I did one deal or I did 3 or 4 deals, but now I want the time in between each successive deals to be less and less and less. Repeatability is having predictable deal closings. And that's where we really get into the systems and the processes. Proof of concept, you want your system and your process to really just, you want to play with it so that you can just get one. Repeatability is you're putting a stamp and being like, this is the way that I do things now. This is so that you can start doing deals more consistently, less downtime. And, like you're comping deals in a specific way, you're sourcing deals in a specific way, you're in one specific market, you have one particular, dialer or CRM. Everything is just one. Everything is the same. Reproducibility is, if you guys are in the reproducibility stage or trying to figure out the reproducibility stage, that's where, Mahmoud, I already got a repeatable business. I'm doing a couple deals a month. I've been doing that for a year or so, but I want to take everything that's in my mind right now and I want to be able to put it in other people's minds so that they can just help me because I'm getting burned out from doing this all by myself. Having other people reproduce the results that you're getting through repeatability, right? You want to take, a guy have this person does intro calls, this person runs numbers, this person submits offers, this one person calls buyers, etc. You want to start to develop a hiring infrastructure and really start to build a team that is helping you close deals through your process, right? That's your reproducibility. And then scalability is, now that you've figured out, okay, I know how to build teams to execute my business model and my process. How do I build more than one team? How do I build 2 teams, 3 teams? And that's, through getting into different markets or through, franchising your business. So, yeah. Now, if you guys, feel free in the chat to just, type proof of concept if you're looking for proof of concept, repeatability if you're looking for repeatability. Let me get a chance to take a temperature and see where everybody's at. So I see 9 people right here, or 7 people. If you guys can each just type out which of these you guys are looking after, that way I can base how I guide the rest of this session into where you guys are at. Remember, this isn't a radio show. We're trying to be as live as possible with the audience. And even if, once this replay goes out, you guys are home listening also, this is a time to take note of which stage you are trying to accomplish. Proof of concept, repeatability, reproducibility, or scalability. Okay. And the one thing you need to produce to the next stage, to get to the stage that you're trying to go to, is not more leads. You don't need more leads. You don't need to be calling, more people to get to the next stage, or at least not only doing that. It's not better sales skills, and it's not working harder. It's back-end infrastructure. It's processes. It's getting organized, really. I can just kind of simplify it to one word: get organized. And so that in order to move through the stages, you're going to need to have something called a process map, have an effective yet user-friendly workflow, have a daily routine that executes the workflow, and then have KPIs that track how well you're operating the workflow, and then have your process documented so that it can be implemented by others. So what we're going to do first is we're going to talk about, so today we're going to really base the bulk of this training around building the process map. So I'm going to explain what this is over on this next set of screens, which I have a whiteboard. We're going to get real, guys. Ask people who know me. Once the whiteboard comes out, it's getting real. Things are getting real. So this we're going to do is with you guys, we are going to develop, walk you guys through, coach you guys through developing your process map. Okay. What is the process map? This is the foundational basis of your business model. This is the set of steps, of elements, components of your process that are going to take you from A to Z. A might be lead generation, looking for leads. Z is actually getting the check in the bank. Okay, cool, I did a transaction. We need to map out every single step in order to be able to know what we need to do on a daily basis to be able to take a deal from the beginning of the pipeline all the way to the end. So we're going to kind of get real with it. So I'm going to draw some of these boxes just so you guys can see where I'm going with this. And each of these boxes, they're going to come with arrows. Okay. And so to keep it generic, I want you guys to really just think about your business right now. What's the very first step that a lead goes through, that you go through in the business to get, to go through the process of getting a transaction done? Whether the goal is assigning a wholesale deal, whether the goal is flipping a property, whether the goal is, buying a rental and getting it rented out, whatever it is, you have a process for that. I
So
want you
this
to
is like marketing, or is this the lead is already coming into the door? Are you talking about beginning the outreach?
I'm talking about, I'm keeping it meta right now. Like I'm talking about like, like let's say I want to wholesale. What's the very first thing I need to do? Well, I need a list of phone numbers to call. And then we call the phone, we go through the process of just looking for phone numbers all the way through the process of I just cashed a check. We're talking about everything. So it's from starting from the marketing all the way to getting a transaction done. So here's kind of what it is. It could look like for people. So we could call it like lead collection. Lead collection, it can be your first step. So it's like, okay, first I need to go ahead and let's say I'm doing direct to seller. I need to get a list of sellers, either through, um, public records or wherever, or if you're talking to agents, you get on Privy, you start looking at actively listed properties, and you upload a list or download a list of on market properties for you to call. It's getting the leads. It's taking the leads themselves and getting them into your calling area. So if I want to write this down, this would be lead collection. So it's obtain list of leads via that match my selection criteria and upload into calling area. Calling area is just like a very basis word for your cell phone or your CRM or your dialer or wherever, right? So for some people, this might look like, okay, I go onto Privy, I go and I set up my filters on Privy for actively listed properties, and I look for properties that are, let's say, for example, 20 days on market or older in the MLS. Let's say this is me wanting to buy like on market properties and make offers on market properties. So I go onto Privy, I look at active listings, 20 days on market or more, and I want them to be single family. I want them to be in Houston, Texas, and I want them to have at least 2 bedrooms. That's my selection criteria. The entire MLS, or if all of Privy is an apple tree, the selection criteria is how do you choose which apples to pick off the tree, essentially, right? So that's your selection criteria. So our process map consists of first lead collection. We need to obtain a list of leads that match your selection criteria and then load it into your calling area or your CRM or wherever. That could be the very first step. We're obtaining the leads so that we can call people. Awesome. Next step can be, okay, so to even break it down even more, right? I go and I take and I go on Privy and I take like the first names and the last names of the real estate agents, as well as the address of the property itself. I put it on a Google spreadsheet, and then I put the agent's phone number, and then I just kind of add 30 leads that I like into that list, and then I export the sheet and then import it into my CRM, and then I start calling. For example, that's lead collection. Next, you have your intro call, for example, or initial call. This is now where, okay, we're on the phone with, or we're in our calling area, we're ready to hit dial, we're ready to go. Now, what's the process now? What am I going to say, right? What's my script look like? What are the bullet points of things that I want to cover in the conversation I have with my prospect right now, right? Whether it's an agent, seller, other wholesaler, whatever. What are the sequential list of things that I want to talk about, right? Whether it's motivation, condition, timeline, etc. I want certain things out of that call. So we do the initial call. Now here's where it gets interesting. So what happens after that initial call, right? Why am I drawing more arrows? What's happening, Mahmoud? Well, this is where we start to get into lanes. Okay, what do I mean by lanes? Lanes are conditions, right? So we make a call. Why did I not have lanes here? Well, because every lead that I import, I'm going to attempt a call. I don't need lanes. Here, they could answer the call and it went well. They could have answered, or actually, let me, for the sake of this, hasn't went well, hasn't gone well, yep. It could be they answered, it went well, or they didn't answer. There is not another scenario that could happen other than these three in this particular case, right? Initial call. What scenarios are happening here? Well, they either answer my call and it goes, and I like how it goes, or they don't answer my call at all, or they answer and I don't like how it goes. And now the arrow moves to the next thing depending on where it goes. So if they'd answered and we went, if they answered and it went well, what do we mean by it going well? That's for you to decide. You get to know what it means if your call goes well, depending on who you're calling and what you're trying to achieve from that call. So you write down what does it mean to have a good call. For me personally, if I'm talking to agents or sellers or whoever, it went well if I am calling about a particular address, and or if I'm doing blank agent outreach and I'm just trying to call to ask them to send me properties in the future if they don't have one. It went well if my objective was met. Yeah, sure, Mahmoud. Yeah, I work with investors all the time. I'd be happy to send you properties to look at. Then it went well. Then I do an action. Or if they sent me a property and I called about it, if I'm talking, like calling about a seller lead or an agent lead, and they tell me, hey, yeah, here's the condition, here's the motivation, here's our asking price, and I feel like I'm happy about all of those. I feel like, I would like to submit an offer on this property. Then I will move it to the next stage and I'll be like, okay, they told me that they're flexible on price a little bit, which is good. And they told me that they're willing to, or they gave me all the major repairs and condition info I need to actually finish my underwriting and come up with an offer number. So I go into run numbers. So if it went well, I'll go ahead and I'll run my numbers. Awesome. Thanks. If it hasn't gone well, maybe I will, put them in a warm up follow up, for example. I'll warm them up over time and I'll follow up with them and try to kind of get them to where the call does go well. So like, for example, if for my definition of the call going well is they're not stuck on their asking price. I want them to lower the price a little bit. I want them to have wiggle room to negotiate. Maybe if I follow up with them long enough, they will have some wiggle room to negotiate and we'll be good. So that if it doesn't go well, then I might, put them in a follow-up campaign or, put them in a follow-up sequence, or I might manually follow up with them. So that one day the call does go well, and then what happens? Maybe they come out of this and back into here because the call does go well now, right? So that's good. Now, if they didn't answer, then we either call again or send SMS, right? We message them or we call them again to try to get them to answer. And if they finally eventually answer, then we take them maybe back into that initial call, right? Because now we can actually have that conversation. Okay, guys getting this? Is this making sense? So okay, so let's go back to if we called and then they answered and it went well. What happens now, right? Now we ran numbers. Awesome. We're happy with that. And let's say the way that I want to set up this process map, I ran my numbers, everything's good. And now I have an offer to make. I know how much I want to offer this prospect for this property. I have that number. Cool. So now we submit. So we submit the offer through submit verbal or written or both, right? We submit the offer, we get it out there. Okay. And then once we submit the offer, so all properties in this process map version that I'm making you guys, right? All based on this process map, because you guys might have different process maps. This is just me walking you through the process. This might be yours, it might not be. We run numbers, and in this case, every single lead we run numbers on, we submit a verbal or a written offer, right? In this case, I could say, submit verbal or submit written or both. So run numbers, and for that, we submit for everything. Cool. Awesome. What happens now? Again, we're back into lanes. What are some different things that could happen from this? Well, they could accept the offer, right? We could submit it and they accept it, which is great for us. We're very happy if that happens. Or they could say no, they could reject our offer. Actually, let me stay consistent here with my nomenclature. Accepted offer. And then this is rejected offer. The arrow is the scenario. And then go under contract. So if they accept the offer, then we go under contract. Awesome. Yay. Congrats. If they reject the offer, then we do the similar thing that we did back when we answer back in initial call. If they answer and it hasn't gone well, we've warmed them up through a follow-up. Until what happens? Until they either, so again, this is a rejected offer. What could happen here after they reject our offer and we follow up? They could sell, they could sold to or under contract with someone else. In that case, what happens if they go under contract with somebody else, right? We do more warm-up follow-up. And because hey, it might fall, they might not close with that person.
The chances are they're not going to close with that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a greater chance that they're going to mess it up than
Exactly.
it actually goes to closing.
Yeah. And then sold to someone else means, okay, they went under contract and they actually sold it to someone else. So we mark this as dead lead. And the lead I'm referring in this case, in this process map, the lead is following the property. It's not following the agent, it's following the property. I could have a lead, 3 leads by 3 different agents, and one of the leads could be here, a dead lead. The other one could be flowing through under contract. The other one could be running numbers. So in this particular process map, I define lead as a property. In a different process map, I might define the lead and choose to follow the agent or the prospect or the customer, right? So in this process map, we're following by lead, we mean like an address, like an opportunity, right? So we submit verbal, our offer gets rejected. We follow up, oh, it gets on contract with someone else. We follow up, it's sold to someone else. So let's kind of get back over here. So rejected offer, we warm up follow up, and then what could happen also? It could go under contract with someone else, or eventually they could choose to accept our offer and we go under contract with them, which is awesome. But they could also go under contract with someone else. If they go under contract with someone else, they could sell to someone else, or they could eventually, that falls through, and we also go under, they accept our offer and we go under contract, etc. So yeah. Let's see. Yeah. So this would be a process map that in which case I am talking to, I'm using Privy to find MLS properties that are listed on the MLS, and I'm, collecting those leads. I'm putting them in a spreadsheet. I am, uploading them into my CRM or calling environment, my calling area. And then I'm attempting the call. I'm clicking call. It answer, it doesn't go well. Cool. I'll put them in a follow-up campaign. It answers and it goes well. Run numbers. Didn't answer, call again or send SMS, and then we do that initial call, and then it'll go into one of these two. Run numbers. We submit offers, and then the offer gets accepted or rejected. If it's accepted, we go under contract. If it's rejected, we do warm-up follow-up, and then then after we follow up, we eventually get into negotiations with them. If they're ready, they come to terms that price might, that our offer might work for them, and they're ready to face reality, etc. And then our offer gets accepted. Or it could go under contract with someone else. We warm up, follow up, and then it falls out with that other person, go under contract with us. Or they could just sell it to somebody else and becomes a dead lead, etc. So yeah, you notice in this process, there's a lot of follow-up happening because we only consider something a dead lead, not if they say no to our offer, but if they sell it to another person, right? It's still fair game for us to follow up on it if someone didn't buy it yet. So that's this process map. So now I want to spend some time taking people's questions and seeing if everybody understood everything. Type yes in the chat if everything was making sense and if this was helpful for you guys. Let's just see some yeses in the chat and see if you guys if this is all making sense for everybody who is here.
Let's go, you guys. Please contribute.
Yeah. Yes, if you guys are.
Is the chat even working?
All right.
Let's check that.
Yeah.
It is. Okay, good. Thanks, Ricardo.
All right. Cool.
You guys, this is a fairly straightforward process map, but what are some other scenarios you can think of where you might want to add something?
Yeah.
I think one of the more likely
Abby?
scenarios here that we didn't cover is you don't get a hold of them after multiple attempts. You call, you knock on their door, you send a mail, you're trying, and that might even be part of the process map, right? Is right now we're
Yeah.
talking about phone calls. There could be a completely different arm of this map. It's knocking on a door. You send them a
Yeah.
piece of mail, right? And so there's multiple touch points from different, what would you call that? Strategies of reach out. Text message. I don't know how many people are doing that these days, but that could be part of this map. But really, you should count on more often than not getting a hold of them. And then what do you do then? You know,
Absolutely.
how long
Yeah.
do you wait between reach out number one, right? This is just the process map. There's also something to measure here, which is time. How long do you wait before that first call and you leave a voicemail and you do the second call, right? That's all stuff that you would map out, right?
Yeah. So the cool thing about this is each one of these squares, you as the operators create SOPs of how to implement the things that are in these squares. So for example, and that's what I call a workflow. So this is the process map. A workflow is once we have the process map, how do we take each of these steps and actually do it? What does it look like? So for example, warm up, follow up, if the call hasn't gone well, could be, okay, first, it gets enrolled in an automation, for example, where you know the system waits for 3 days and then, or let's say waits for 10 days and says, "Hey, did you end up selling this property yet?" You know, um, and if the agent says, "Not yet," etc., but we don't want to go down on price, etc., then we're like, "Okay." We end up checking in another 10 days, and then maybe after that another 10 days. Then maybe after that we send an email and a text, and then maybe we send a piece of mail, right? And so that's the workflow behind, that's the execution for the process step, which is warm up and follow up. Maybe I want my warm up follow up to go for 6 months, like 3 weeks intervals for 6 months. Maybe I want it to go for a year. Maybe I want it to go for 3 months, etc. Call again or send SMS. Maybe we want, to double dial 3 days in a row, and then maybe go ahead and do what? Maybe mark it as a dead lead, for example, right? Maybe if that's what you guys want to do to keep your systems clean, that's what you guys end up doing, right? So it really just depends on your particular strategy, on your approach, etc. Yeah, so each of these will have a particular workflow. Let me see if I can delete that. Yeah. So which actually brings us, I want to talk a little bit about workflows, but a workflow is defined as you take this step and you're like, all right, the objective of this step, this needs to happen in order for leads to move across my pipeline. I need to do this step. What's the purpose of the step? Well, it's to take what I identify as a feasible potential lead and getting the information for that lead and preparing it so that I can dial it. Now, what screens are you looking at? What clicks are you clicking to do all of that? What is the exact specific step-by-step how for that step? How? That's called a workflow. The workflow is the way by the means by which you execute that particular process map step. That's a workflow. That's what SOPs are for. SOPs are to give us the workflow for the actual process step. And so once you build out workflows for each of these steps, then you can go ahead and know how to implement each step so that the lead moves from this step into this step, into this step, into the next one, into the next one, until eventually you get a contract. And then you can either close or, wholesale it or whatever you guys want to do. So, yeah.
I want to mention something here,
Mm-hmm.
guys, because some of you might be looking at this and thinking to yourself, okay, well, this seems obvious. Well, of course, we're going to put them through a process. And if you only have one lead, it may seem simple because you can track all this fairly simply on one lead, but we all know that this is a volume game. So to start this off, you're going to have 100 or 500 leads or whatever there are. And think how complicated it can get if you're down the way here in this process flow and you set I don't know, some sort of reminder to call somebody within 10 days on one lead, but you've done that for 100 leads. All of a sudden you're starting to let some of this stuff slip through the cracks. And this is ultimately what catches most people up is they don't have the systems in place in a process that's documented well enough and tracked using a CRM, which Mahmoud will probably talk about later, where you start forgetting these little things. You forget
Mhm.
to call that person back after 10 days. You don't follow the exact process because you are playing catch up. And you're like, oh my God, I haven't called anybody back for a week. Well, I got to go do my business because I got busy with work. And you start missing things. That's where this is all going to break down. So having a clear process map with a defined workflow on each step is how you get to the point where you can start to implement this and not let those leads slip.
Yeah, and let's make this real for you guys. So what happens? Let's say we're trying to bring KPIs into this. Let's say you've got you collect 400 leads in a particular month, for example. 400, that means that 400 leads, and I'm writing the number 400 here, are entered in the system, and you're going to have an initial call for all 400. Okay, so over the course of that month, maybe you've got you know, like initially you've got, let's say, 150 that didn't answer. You've got, 75 where the call actually went pretty good. You're kind of happy, and you ran numbers on it. And then they answered, the call went well. And then you have 175 where they picked up eventually, and they just were not, the call just didn't go well. Like, for example, let's say you define call going well as you asking them, hey, do you recommend I, submit a low ball offer once I run numbers, or is the seller just not going to bite? And they say no to that. If they say no to that, then maybe I decide I don't even want to run numbers until they say yes to that. Maybe that's my process. So 175 weren't open to that. Call didn't go well, but 75 answered, went well, awesome. And this 75 is including the ones that eventually converted from the 175 in this example. Okay, so cool. In that month, I submit 75 offers. Okay. And let's say out of those 75 offers, I get, 72 of them getting completely rejected. And then they end up going under contract with, let's say 10 end up going under contract. And with somebody else, and then 7 going to end up getting sold to somebody else, for example, out of your rejected offers. And you get 3 that you got under contract. And the cool thing is like over time, you can see like, all right, how many rejected offers do I have in my warm-up follow-up? Let's say you got automated warm-up follow-up. That's 72 leads that you entered into your automated follow-up warm-up every that month. And there's a chance that, like, for example, in this case, if there's 3 accepted offers, let's say 2 of them ended up coming from nurturing through the warm-up follow-up, right? So looking at it like this, you get to see where each lead, you can follow each lead in the exact process and be like, cool, I only got 1 deal under contract this month, but I have, 72 rejected offers that maybe over the next month, a couple of them might end up getting accepted because I'm warming them up, right? through my drip campaigns, through my follow-up. So this just allows you to really take inventory and know and follow the lead and know which steps each lead is taking in order to go from start to finish. And it just allows you to visualize everything so you can keep yourself organized, but also inform what's after workflow, daily routine. So workflow is built on top of the process map, and the daily routine is built on top of the workflow. And then the KPIs are there to study your pipeline to see what tweaks you can make to improve your revenue and your conversion and things like that. So for daily routine, once you have your workflow, you go and you say, all right, so now my daily routine is I'm going to start the day and let me pick a new color so I can talk about daily routine. So just to kind of give you guys this. All right. I'll just annotate with this. Okay. So let's say my daily routine is I start my day by looking and responding to messages that are sent to me from real estate agents that responded to my follow-ups, right? So I go over here and I respond to messages in the warm-up follow-up here. I respond, and hopefully through responding, some of them might give me a call and I can kind of, or some of them might end up, getting convinced to, get them to do whatever I want to do. And then I can run numbers so I can move that lead one step closer. Awesome. And then I can go ahead and, do my warm-up follow-ups, all my warm-up follow-ups, regardless of the stages, do all my warm-up follow-ups, meaning I just respond to inbound messages. Cool. So I respond to inbound messages. First thing I do. Then maybe I go ahead and I collect new leads. Then I go ahead and I make my calls for the day. And then I go ahead and run numbers on all of the properties that I need to run numbers on. Then I go ahead and I submit all my offers. Then I go and I'm like, okay, cool. Did I get any leads that were under contract? Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and go binding. And now I just moved all of the leads in the entire pipeline, all 400. I did some sort of action to try to move them a little bit closer to go under contract, a little bit closer. I'm moving them downstream by looking at priority and seeing which workflow steps matter in terms of priority. So now I have a routine that if I just do this routine every day, I'm moving my leads through this process and getting them closer to going under contract.
So this routine is like you standardize what your day looks like. Priority is the first thing you do every day, right? Would it be probably the hot leads? And then you work your way down to like warm follow-ups. And do you recommend this is like time blocking, like from a certain time to a certain time you're doing this? Or do you think you might get to a certain thing and there's nothing to do there, right? There might be everything maybe could have been completed in that stage. Do you wait or do you just start the next task?
I don't do time blocks. I do orders. So I have like an ordered list of things that I have to accomplish. So in the case of responding to inbound messages, that might take me an hour or it might take me 15 minutes, but I have to do, okay, what's next? Let's go ahead and collect some leads. Cool. Awesome. Let's go ahead and make some calls. Let's go ahead and do, run some numbers, submit some offers. So it's just, we have a list that we go through. And let's say, for example, you plan to work 8 hours today and you finished everything in 6 hours. What do you spend the rest of the time doing? Maybe you go and you import more leads so that you can make more calls, right? So you just kind of keep everything moving in this direction. So yeah, cool.
So
yeah,
you're kind of manually doing this. One of the things that you implemented in your program though is you use a CRM to help you track all this, right?
100%.
Because I've seen so many people who are just getting started, they're operating out of spreadsheets. And,
Yes.
A spreadsheet can be helpful to get started, but once you start to get volume and leads, a spreadsheet's not going to cut it. You're going to need something that's more advanced that has some additional triggers and automations so you keep this thing completely streamlined.
Yeah, that's the thing with manual actions, right? Like manual actions, like manual follow-up, manual calls, is eventually you fill up your 8 hours of the day on like a low lead number, right? So like you could, if you're doing manual follow-ups and everything, and you're processing, let's say, 100 leads a month through systems and automations, you can maybe quadruple that number, hence potentially quadrupling your conversion and your revenue, right? Because it gives you more time to finish those tasks when you've got automations going, and you can spend that time on funneling more leads through the system. And so actually wanted to show you guys um, something. So let me go ahead and see if I can clear this and continue this slideshow. So my company, Nanoscape Consulting, we actually help people build out their process maps and their workflows, but we're leveraging like building custom CRM technology to help with the follow-up campaigns, to help with building all of the like actual workflows, like how much time does the system have to wait before sending a message, and then what message should it say, etc. So I work with people to help develop their process maps and develop their systems, and ultimately help people achieve whichever stage they're trying to get to next: proof of concept, repeatability, reproducibility, or scalability. So these are personalized consulting sessions, and they're going to help you kind of reach your growth stage. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit about what we've got going on. So we've got a couple of different products here for consulting and helping you guys kind of like build out your processes and your systems and things like that. So helping build out your process map, your workflow, your daily routine. And I'm going to just kind of walk you through the differences between everything, so you guys kind of have a good idea of kind of how everything kind of gets of which product, which session is for who. So the Starter Accelerated Bootcamp, this is good for folks that really don't even have an idea of what that process map that I showed is really going to look like for them. They don't know what market they want to work in. They don't know what, if you're calling agents, if you're calling sellers, if you're, trying to fix and flip, or if you're trying to hold, like you just don't know enough. You want to build the strategy, you want to build the process map, you want to you've been trying a few things, you haven't quite done a transaction yet at all, and you just want, give me the process map and give me the most basic way of getting a deal done, and just let me get a first deal. That's the Starter Accelerated Bootcamp. Help you guys build the entire process map. We create a workflow that's manual, but it will help you, get that first deal done. And we talk about the KPIs, not just which KPIs to track, but how do you use the KPIs to let you know when your process map, when a particular stage of your process map is clocked, because the process map could get clocked. What does that mean? Well, remember when I said over here that you need to run numbers? What if you don't know how to run numbers? Then all of your offers are going to be bad, and all your offers are going to get rejected, and you're not going to get anything accepted, for example. And you might identify, okay, based on my KPIs are looking like this, I need to get better at running numbers. Maybe I'm lowballing, or maybe I'm doing the opposite, right? So your KPIs are going to help you. We'll talk about how to use KPIs to actually diagnose why, if you're doing all the things, you're not doing deals. So I give you exactly kind of the way to be your own lead doctor, figure out how to know what needs fixing. So self-diagnosis. So that's Starter Accelerated Bootcamp. Really just help you build out the process map, the workflow, and their daily routine. The CRM Integrated Bootcamp is similar, but in this case, we're not doing manual workflows. I'm helping you guys build out a solid, system with a solid CRM, build with follow-up automations and just something very personalized that's going to help you kind of, like put all of your follow-up on autopilot just to increase the velocity at which their leads are moving through the pipeline so that you can start hitting, better numbers. So if you realized, okay, man, like 1 in 200 properties that, people that pick up the phone, I close a deal with. Okay, that's a good number. So we'll just have to get you, to where you can reach 600 people. So if you want to do three deals a month, for example, and then we built the system accordingly to help boost that efficiency. Now this is for people who, our CRM integrated bootcamp is people who have done a couple deals, but they're taking maybe 6 weeks to get the next one or 8 weeks to get the next one. It's just unpredictable revenue. You've let's say in the case of wholesaling, you've done transactions, but you haven't quite known how to make a living on it because it's just so unpredictable. So when we get efficient with our workflows, then things become repeatable. Okay. And then we have something for people who are
Can you
doing
highlight that again real quickly, the one you were just talking about? So this is what I was talking about with the CRM, you guys. This is where he helps you build out your CRM. He actually goes in and takes your process map and converts it into the technical implementation of it so you can track it effectively in the CRM. That right there that's where I think I messed up the most in my history, is thinking that I could track everything without a CRM. Now, to be clear, Mahmoud, the CRM that they would be using is you're going to help them build it out, but is that does that include in the cost, or do they have to pay for that separately?
Yeah, so I build their process map with them through auditing everything with them, and we come up with the process map, and then we build the CRM. I build the CRM in front of them, so they get to see how everything is pieced out. But the actual subscription for the CRM, let's say Go High Level will charge $97 a month that you'll have to pay to them. But and then that just kind of continues essentially. So
Got it.
yeah,
But you're doing all the build out for.
all the build outs, everything.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And the next one here, this is hiring systems. This is for folks listening, if you guys are doing consistent deals, but you're burnt out from doing it all by yourself, and you're like, you've been wanting to hire, you don't know how, you don't know how to find good employees, you don't know how to, put together training protocol, you don't know how to, come up with like really good SOPs. You want a hiring infrastructure. You want to be able to have a very qualified employee come into the team, and you show them how to do a specific thing, which I'll help you build the job description for them. And we kind of, tailor their training, help you outline their training so that like their videos, SOPs, one-on-one trainings, and so that, they can get through their initial training period and be able to execute that part of the process map very well. And then show you how to kind of monitor them over time so that they can eventually become as good as you, and you can depend on them for that task. So for example, you put somebody in there to just cold call, or somebody just to comp, or somebody just to call buyers, etc. So this is really for people that are doing deals pretty consistently, but they, for the love of God, need help with building a team. And this next one here is the operational scaling. So this is an all-you-can-eat buffet of CRM integrated bootcamp and hiring systems coaching. So each of these consist of me essentially like in sort of an accelerated style. We'll meet like, 3 or 4 times, 2 to 3 hours each time on Zoom. And we just kind of crank at it, and I work with you one-on-one until we get everything done. Operational scaling incubator is I meet with you for 4 months, basically 4 months, once a week, 2 hours in each meeting. And I leave a week in between each meeting so that you guys can go and implement what we talk about. And then we do more, and then we do more, and then we do more. So that way I can essentially build the process with you as you guys are kind of going. So I can like, by the time we're done training, you guys have your employees set up, you have your CRM, you've already done several deals, you've already made your investment back, you're cooking. So the why do I call it an all you can eat buffet? Because you essentially help you build all the CRMs that you need, all of the hiring, all of the job descriptions, and help you kind of get all the employees that you need. And I also help you with sourcing employees. I'll find the employees for you, which already, like if you're working with, particular hiring agencies, they might charge you a couple $1,000 just to find you a good employee. So that's included with this. And that's operational scaling incubator. And yeah, so we'll essentially work for 4 months, build out all your systems, whether it's hiring and CRMs, and help you really get dialed in with your process maps, your workflow, your hiring systems, so that you can kind of set your business up to scale. And then yeah, that is that. And then obviously we've got enterprise systems. That's for people who are essentially doing multiple 6 figures a year, and they're really trying to build some very custom made CRM that they need to really boost their like essentially they're doing too many deals and they've outgrown their CRM and they need an upgrade, like an enterprise level upgrade. And then we have our custom services as well. So something that I haven't mentioned, that we can essentially put together. And yeah, so, and then over here on the site, if Benson, you can put this
Yeah,
in the page. Yeah, Benson
yeah,
already
just
has
drop
it.
that link in there, you guys. They're at the very top of the screen here. If you go to the top, there's a place to book some time with Mahmoud.
Yes, and
Um,
there's a if you go to nanoscape.org/Benson, you can go ahead and either through nanoscape.org/Benson or through schedule a consultation. You can book some time with me, and I will actually help audit your business with you, give you guys some things to get started, and recommend which of the sessions we can work on together, and just kind of help point you guys in the right direction. Yeah, so definitely book that session, whether you think you're going to be needing the service, or or you're not that sure, or if you just want to meet me and say hi, definitely book a session with me. And yeah, we will give you guys some solid direction. So that's going to be
but that right there, you guys, that probably is worth more than $100. Because how long do you spend with them in that consultation, the audit? How long does that take?
like at least 30 minutes, like we go in just one-on-one, like
So there's
yeah.
no cost to that, you guys. That's one of the benefits of just coming tonight is like you probably didn't know exactly where you needed to what you needed to fix, and you might not know that now. But if you book through the link I just put in with nanoscape.org/Benson, you can spend about a half hour with Mahmoud, and he'll do an audit with you. He'll help you break apart your business and figure out where you are dropping the ball. So you don't have to know where that's at. And then through that audit, you may figure out that you need hiring more than you need this CRM, or your CRM might be solid and you need, something else. So I would encourage you guys to book that time. That in itself is going to be really eye-opening for you because it's all about you.
Yes, absolutely. And let's see, if you guys use Omni5 promo code on the checkout page, you guys will get a 5% discount at checkout on any of those consulting offerings. So definitely take advantage of that. It's going to be available for next 48 hours. And yeah, like Benson said, go to nanoscape.org/Benson, get your call scheduled, and let's connect back there. So we're going to do a one-on-one personalized audit session and just kind of help you guys kind of get everything together and figure out how we can, potentially which type of session we can do together potentially. So yeah.
Absolutely. So you guys, really appreciate you coming tonight. Like this, just the fact that you came here shows that you're serious about your business. But if you don't have all this stuff dialed in, then it's just a matter of time before something's going to break. Right? Some leads are going to slip through the cracks. Maybe you could stumble into a couple deals and feel like, okay, you got a business now. But if you don't have these systems and processes in place properly, you don't have a business. You got a hobby. And that hobby may make you some money, but it's going to be very, very difficult to get that repeatable expectation of revenue and sales and of closings for you to be able to do this in any scalable way, whether your goal is to just do a couple deals a month and or if it's to leave your job and do this full time, or if it's to build an enterprise where you got a minions of people just doing all this work for you and you just get to own the company, right? Like there's all these different levels here. So think about where you want to be, what your goals are. And if your goal is to make some serious money, which probably everybody here is because you took the time to be here, you need to perfect your processes. And I highly recommend you talk to Mahmoud because he's done it personally and he's actually coached hundreds of others to do it as well. So take that leap. Worst case scenario, just book the consultation audit, and that will open up your eyes to whether it's necessary or whether you've got it figured out. Any
Absolutely.
questions? Any questions? We didn't have a lot of questions throughout because I think you guys are probably just all taking it all in. It is a lot to digest, but we did record this, so I'll make sure to get this all out to you guys tomorrow at some point, so you can go back and watch it if you need to, and share it with a business partner or a significant other to get their feedback on it as well. Because I think that when you see these costs, right? There's a cost of running all businesses, and it might be a little eye-opening to some people, but others are looking at it thinking, oh my God, like if I could spend 7 grand, I can do one deal and make 7 grand, right? One deal. And so think about if you do that right and you put it in place and you actually execute and you follow through and you hold yourself accountable, multiple checks, right? So it's a great investment.
100%. Yes, yes.
All right. Any final words, Mahmoud?
Yeah, thank you guys for jumping on. I hope you guys have gotten some value from this, even if we never speak. I hope you guys, took some inkling of inspiration and guidance, and that I could have contributed it in some small way to that. But yeah, I'm super excited to get on a call with you guys and help you guys take the next step through process improvement and improving your processes and systems. Thank you guys so much for being on here. And thank you, Benson, for having me. This is a lot of fun. I always love doing these calls with you, brother.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for just giving massive value. I learned a bunch from just the process map layout. There's already a couple things I want to tweak in my business, but appreciate everybody for showing up, and keep an eye out for that replay link. These links are still here and clickable if you're an action taker, but we will have these out in those emails tomorrow as well. So everybody have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody.